All right, episode 2 of season 22 of Big Brother is in the books, and we got quite a bit to talk about. Before we jump into that, I want to know who you are cheering for this season. Who are your favorites? Who will you be rooting for? Who have you liked before? Let me know in the comments. Would love to hear from all of you just to see where everybody's head's at and who is the popular house guest this season. All right, so Cody is our head of household. Lots of gameplay always revolves around our HOH, whether that is alliances, the nominations, powers getting used, always revolves around him. So he was really the center of attention tonight and was really the person who was starting to draw in those members for whatever loose alliance it is that is starting to form. You know, we saw Nicole F come to Cody, and it seemed like they hashed out sort of a deal between them. Tyler, Enzo, Memphis, all seem to start to form a loose alliance with Cody. There's no sort of name or anything formal yet, but interesting to see how things develop on that front very early on in the season. A lot of power comes with being that first HOH, and at least for this season, I think it's going to end up being a huge benefit for Cody. Outside of people trying to work with Cody, the only real any alliance that we saw form was Janelle and Kaysar. They've worked together in the past and really ended up kind of forced into immediately working with each other again. You know, we saw both Janelle and Kaysar go have conversations with Cody. Cody was pretty cold, not very receptive, and that immediately raises those red flags that, hey, we might be on the block right here if we don't do something. And then along came the safety suite to bail Janelle and Kaysar out. So the safety suite is a new twist that will be in play for the next 3 weeks, and each house guest was given a VVIP pass, which is a one-time use over some point in the next 3 weeks to potentially play for safety for yourself plus one other person. So this week we only saw Janelle and Kaysar go into the safety suite. Kaysar wins. He gets protection for both himself and Janelle. Janelle gets a small punishment. She's got to wear the BB All-Stars mascot outfit. Not that bad as far as punishments go. And I think that having safety will be well worth it this week. I did think that there was a little bit of a misplay here by Janelle and Kaysar. There was no need for both of them to scan their cards. They could have saved either Janelle's or Kaysar's for one of the next 2 weeks, which could potentially give them another week of safety. You know, not a huge misplay here since they didn't know what the twist or the challenge was going to entail. But, you know, just one of those small things that could end up having an impact on the season. What else do we got going on? Nominations. So Cody was leaning towards nominating Janelle and Kaysar. And as I just said, they got safety from the safety suite, so he had to switch targets. Cody, his real strategy here was, who do I have the least amount of relationship with? And it ends up being Keisha and Kevin who get slapped on the block. I always think it's a mistake to not at least go and have one conversation with the HOH, especially early on in the season. You know, deeper in the season when alliances are firmer, maybe you don't need to be having those conversations as often, but early on, why not at least go and test the waters with Keisha or with Cody? So for Keisha's, for instance, you know, she goes and has that conversation with Cody. Possibly they start to bond a little bit. Maybe their games line up and start working together. All of a sudden, Keisha not on the block. Scenario 2, Keisha goes, has that conversation. It doesn't go well. She doesn't feel safe, goes into the safety suite, and at least has a chance to fight for her safety. Now she's got to rely on the veto to get herself off the block. I did think that Kevin possibly was going to sway Cody's mind with his last minute conversation with Cody, but seemed like Cody was too set in stone at that point. I don't know if that's a mistake by Cody or not, because I really felt like with how their conversation went, that Kevin and Cody could have potentially worked together in some capacity, and maybe it would have benefited Cody a little bit more to put that target on someone else's back. I think that about wraps up everything that went on in episode 2. We won't have any more Big Brother until Wednesday now. I'm sure that there's been lots going on in those live feeds. I've seen a couple little spoilers myself, which I'll try not to pass on to all of you. But seems like a lot more is happening than what we get to see in this short, condensed Sunday night episode. Hopefully we get to see more of all that gameplay and what alliances and relationships are starting to form in the house. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you later.